Saints out of body heat. Friday night agenda.
And you would almost die when he let you wear his cap. You might have told a lie and abbreviated facts if you came home late and were accused of being late. Me, I didn't smoke, mama, I swear. She's only gonna judge me and you know it ain't fair. Trips to the beauty shop, keeping fresh hair. Blowing $80 at the damn state fair. Beach body surfing with the abs looking perfect. Hitting all the gloves, getting love on the surface. From ice cream cones to the Starbucks stones to your new best friend to your breakup song. They all play out like your favorite days. You love the summertime and it ain't gonna change.
We're live.
With no cause. You want attention, said you looking for applause. See, we were kids of laws, didn't have applause. It was the summertime to us, they had no flaws. Rebel with no cause, rebel with no cause. You want attention, said you looking for applause. See, we were kids of laws, didn't have applause. It was the summertime to had no flaws.
Friday night agenda pre-show in full effect. What's happening, y'all? Getting ready to go live. Sights out of body heat. Welcome everyone to the Friday night agenda. Alexa, begin playlist broadcast transition.
Your playlist, broadcast transition, on Amazon Music.
All right, you guys. All the Facebook people, stay right where you are. Everybody else, we're going to be resetting that machine as we so often do, because we are going live all over the universe. That is us, and you can feel it, you can see it, it is happening. Yes. Slice out of body heat. Doing it to you on the street. Got my man bun in full effect. What the heck? Welcome everyone to the Friday Night Agenda Part 1. Because Friday Night Agenda here at Pack Stereo TV is a full evening of programming, and it starts with this show right here at 7:30. We sometimes we're a little bit late because, you know, working through the internet with all those connections sometimes is a bit difficult. But we are here today and we are streaming live all over the world. We are on Twitter, Periscope, we're on Facebook, we're all over. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. And today's topic on Real Man Talk is the exercise. I call it the exercise, conditioning your mind for forgiveness. So it's a special kind of a show today. Real Man Talk is where we get together with you and share the perspective of real men. Real men who have been wizened by the process of growth and change. And so we like to get together to spread the word and the wisdom. And so here we are today. So first of all, everybody give it up for my partner in crime. Everybody, Victor Allen. He never knows what we're doing.
Yeah. I'm going to suggest that we change the title of that, When We Were Real Men Talking.
It's a perspective thing.
Right.
Well, we got everybody tuned in from all over Facebook, Vic. We've got Johnny Roscoe and Sheila Ross. We've got Leland Hall. We've got Rosalie Woods. We've got all the folks. We got Tony. We've got Tanari. We've got a bunch of people. So tonight, the whole thing, Real Man Talk, part one of the night, is about the exercise, conditioning your mind for forgiveness. Now remember, this show will be followed by a brief half-hour intermission, and then we'll be coming back with the award-winning I, Victor, featuring Nico's Challenge. That'll be at 9 o'clock. But for this hour, Real Man Talk. Conditioning your mind for forgiveness. Well, let me tell you what sort of sparked this. And part of Real Man Talk, I try to think about things that are real to us. You know, one of the things about Pax Stereo, one of the things that many of you like about us is our integrity. Because we don't go out of our way just to think of crap to talk about. We don't do that. We really talk to you about the things that we think are pertinent in our own lives. And by that, we tend to set the standard for reality television. So it's no different with this. In this episode, I was thinking about, in dealing with some of my friends, what it takes to get your mind ready for forgiveness. Because at this point in time in my life, and everybody can't say this, I'm not mad at anybody. Now, certain personalities tend to be that way. My buddy over there, Victor Allen, I'll give him a chance too. Because Vic, as we go through this, anytime you feel the need to reflect, you know.
Oh, you're doing a great
you know, just jump on in there. But,
yes.
but I'm not mad at anybody. And a bunch of people my age have that kind of baggage that they're mad. And one of the reasons that I'm not mad at anybody is that I've forgiven. I've also accepted responsibility more for my own parts and things, but I've forgiven. And so tonight I want to talk about the process, okay? How I was able to let go and be free. And it all came about because of something that I call the exercise. So we talk about that tonight. The exercise is an article that I read years ago that suggested in a very simple way that when it came to conflicts with folks that you cared about, that you had to ask yourself basically one question in the beginning. Do you want to understand or do you want to be mad? Because if you want to be mad, there's no need for any more investigation. You could just go on and be mad. But if you wanted to understand, the article suggested that you do an exercise. An exercise that sort of changed my life. A very simple exercise. It suggested that you take a quiet moment, sit yourself down without the aid of music or television or any other distractions. Take a quiet moment and begin to try to imagine yourself as the person you are most angry with. Try to imagine their life, their day, what their day was like, and even how they might be in perspective when it comes to you. Try to sit there and feel that. Now, I used this exercise. I actually experimented with this exercise in various stages. starting with one of my good buddies, because Vic knows the story of some of this. One of my good buddies, when we were always arguing in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
About music to work on.
Yeah.
And I did this exercise to try to understand him. And again, I think the biggest part of the exercise is that first step, you guys, where they go. Do you want to understand or do you want to be mad? It's very simple. But if you really want to be mad, then at least you can accept that. Because one thing about saying, no, I really want to be mad, maybe you can come back later and understand. But at least you have to be honest about being mad. So this will allow you to get to this point in time where you don't have these conflicts. And I had conflicts. I had a fair amount of conflicts. So that's the part I want to dwell on now. Because all of us have things we have to come back from that made us mad. For many of us, the madness revolves around the dating world. Dating, our interactions with the targets of our desire. These are the things that so often cause us anger. And for me, I probably was no different than you all. One of the things that happened to me was that as a young emerging physician, I got exposed to a different kind of woman. Now, these were women who were women of means or substance or whatever. You know, they had things and they were made up, dressed up, beautiful. So as a young, upcoming medical student and such, I was caught up in that rapture. And so some of those things left me with some issues that everybody might have. And we all go through. So one of the early issues that I went through, which I think most of us go through, is how much we want to do to impress the other people. Because at some point you feel like you're just kissing ass. There's a point, you know what I'm saying? There's a point where you actually have to decide in your dating world how much bending backwards you gonna do. You know? And I know for me, that was the early things because you realize you are jumping through some hoops. And now, you don't have to jump through the hoops, but you jump through the hoops because you want the other folks. And a lot of times, that leaves you with bitterness, even though you're the one who chose. So as a young man, I wanted so much to impress that I did jump through some hoops. And so later on, when looking back at some of the things I did to try to impress some young ladies that were particularly beautiful, I was disgusted with myself. I don't know if you ever with any of those moments, Vic, but sometimes there's some women you want so bad.
Mm-hmm. You disgusted with yourself, man?
I'm just saying I was.
Well,
you're
playing into a different age.
I'm talking about when you are young.
Right. Yeah.
20, around that age.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're disappointed.
The kind of things you do to attract attention, the kind of hoops you jump through.
Yeah.
You know, which at some point in time, you actually start telling yourself, I'll never do that again.
And I agree, and I'm going to put this on you. You had some occasions where you were glad to jump through some hoops, right?
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah, so let's just keep it in perspective now, because I feel the same way. There was times where I literally was upset, but I was more disappointed because I couldn't win.
Well, then it becomes the issue, too, because when it comes to the issue of forgiveness, that's where you are unique also. Because, again, you sort of like me, you're not one to play victim. And some people are. So coming out of that, some of us have more people to forgive. And that's part of it.
Yeah, well, so the soul searching, you can always look back, because I'm laughing at some of the stuff I did do. So when we look back right now, I can sit there and say I was dead serious. The biggest thing is, to me, with the dating was when you were dating and it was, you know, hey, you feel somebody feel you, you're cool. And you go through the multiple experiences, because you've had multiple. It's when you stop and say, oh, this is the one, and they better recognize, and you assign them that I'm putting in this hard work, you need to recognize. That's the one that gets you where you go, how many of those did you turn around and go, and I never did this, but you learned this coming back? I mean, when you get mature, you understand. You have to accept this, and I never did. This is the part I didn't accept. I'm not the one. You don't go through that at that moment. At that moment, you're going, are you trying to play?
Well, you actually now dealing with issues where they need to forgive us.
You wait a minute, I didn't say that.
Because
That's you.
part of that thing
you.
was that we went through, to a certain degree, I did go through the thing where women got to the point where I had a bunch of women who wanted to be with me. And I didn't want to be their man. I wanted to run the streets. And I didn't lie about it. I basically told people, I'm just dating. I'm just dating. Because I wanted to run the streets. And I had my own little principles. I wasn't going to lie just to get laid. So, but, we did have a code of conduct. But then you had some, again, that were after you, too, that wanted us to be settled down. So anyway, the issue is we all have things to forgive. And part of this process of me, and Vic, you were there for a bunch of this. As me going through medical school, then residency, becoming a physician, being exposed to this whole new level of woman, we get subject to those womanly wiles. They tend to work us, and we tend to work them. So I had a particularly bad experience that took me a while to get over. And that, I'll give you the shorter version, even though there's longer version. So somewhere in my 30s, I had a young, hot thing that loved me. When I say she loved me, I mean she loved my dirty drawers. I'm saying she loved me and would do almost anything for me. And as it often is, when we have these folks that love us so much, they kind of get a little nutty to us. They start to seem a little much. So homegirl loved me to death, but I felt she was getting way too possessive. Because my thing was like, hey, I'm not your man. I'm just the person buying you dinner, taking you some trips. I'm not your man. And so I thought that, having stated these things kind of clearly, it would be enough. But it wasn't enough. Like I said, she was a cute little hottie. She loved my dirty drawers. And so she got more and more possessive. I had a party, and as often was the case back in the days, if I had a party, Victor had to go through this too. We had the issue of who we invited. Because unfortunately, sometimes people we dated or had dated knew about the parties, were going to be there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes more than one woman that we dated was going to be at the party. I had a party, more than one person that I had dated was there. And little Shorty, she almost pushed one of my other friends in my pool. Enough so that my other friend came over to me and said, your little friend just tried to push me in the pool. I'm like, what? Wait, what? She said, yeah, I don't appreciate that, Mario. It's one thing that you run the streets, but you can't have your little hoochies, whatever, coming up on me trying to push me in the pool. So I'm like, what? I'm apologizing, but homegirl did. She attempted to almost push her in the pool. Now, so she got a little too possessive. And again, that she was fine. Now she's fine now, y'all. Fine, I'm telling you. I tried to push back. I tried to withdraw, cut back. Lo and behold, homegirl turns around and sues me, says she's pregnant. Let me say it again. Lo and behold, homegirl turns around, sues me, says she's pregnant. Now, I don't know if none of any of y'all ever been sued for paternity. Because it's a trip. Because when you're sued for paternity, the way it really goes is that if you really admit that you had sex with the person, they assume you're guilty. They assume you're guilty. until blood test, till the baby's like 3 months of age. So, homegirl was suing me. Not only that, she was harassing me. She came. I had a pool party. Not a pool party. I had a beach party. She came to the beach party, got into a fight with one of my friends. Mm-hmm. I had a Halloween party, and this ghost came up and danced with me. And the ghost you couldn't see because they had the ghost head on and all that. And the ghost had a fine little body. I'm dancing with the ghost. And the ghost was flirting. I'm trying to find what the ghost is. And the ghost wouldn't talk, and the ghost snuck away. And then the phone rang, and they called me to the phone, and it was homegirl. She's like, "Yeah, I'm that ghost. That's what you know. I could get in your party if I wanted to." Okay. So I was sort of back. That was before stalking existed. So I had some bitterness. I had just finished my residency program at LA County, my specialty training. So I was a young doctor, but I didn't have no money. And I had to get an attorney, and the attorney told me, I needed to give him like $5,000 retainer. And I'm like, $5,000? I ain't got no, I just finished up my residency. I ain't got no money. I had to go ask my father. I had to go tuck my tail between my legs, go ask my father for $5,000 for the attorney. Meanwhile, homegirl's going around telling everybody she's having my baby.
Confidence. Right? Confidence.
Now, do any of y'all know anybody who ever won a paternity suit? No, probably not. Well, now you do, because I did. Because the blood test came back showing it wasn't my baby. And I had gone to court to fight, and so they had me pay my money into a trust. So it came back to me, I think it was my birthday at the time, that the blood test was negative. It wasn't my baby. All the money I had been paying into the trust was coming back to me. And it was over. The episode was over. Just like that. And I remember sitting there and feeling, it felt so surreal to think that it's over. But it was. But it left me hostile. It left me a little hostile, a little on the negative side. Feeling angry that I had to go to my father and explain to him I was being sued for paternity by some hoochie mama, who really wasn't a hoochie mama, it turned out, which we'll talk about later. But I was then, responding to all that. So I was noticeably negative. And I could say, for that period of time, I was noticeably negative. Even though I won the paternity suit, I felt like I had been wronged. The exercise. I didn't know about it then, but I knew that I was sort of spiraling. And that I knew that experience of being sued for paternity, it was affecting my relationships. All of them. The way I was dealing with women. So I made a bunch of decisions there. One, I accepted responsibility for my choices. Because I chose that young lady. I knew and the thing about it, I knew she loved my dirty drawers. So I knew it. In my mind, I was being manipulative of her. Because I could. And I accepted responsibility of that, even though that was hard. Because in the beginning, when people used to say, "Mara, what did you do to that girl?" I didn't do nothing to that girl. I didn't do that. Because in the back of my mind, I knew that I had been sort of, running her, and she got out of control. That's like when you running one of your babes and they rebel. So you lost control of your thing. So You kind of blame yourself. So I didn't want to admit that I had been manipulating her. So it took me a long time. So I was mad because I held her responsible. And I even told myself, and I told her, because after we talked, after the blood test came back, we talked and she was trying to apologize and I didn't want to have it. And I told her, I'm going to wait till you find a man. And you can count on it that 30 days after you married, I'm going to sue your husband for my legal fees. So whoever you marry, 30 days after you marry them, I'm going to sue them for my legal fees that you owe me. For this child you accuse me of being mine that ain't mine. So I can sue you for that legal fees, but I'm going to wait till I can sue your husband. Because I was a vindictive mofo, okay? I'm telling you, vindictive. Now, I tell you all this because today's discussion is about conditioning your mind for forgiveness. In order to explain that, I needed to at least give you an example of what I was coming back from. I'm sure a bunch of you have equally bad stories, divorce stories, where they took the house and the car and the kids. Coming back from all that hate, because it begins to poison you. And I knew, because I had trouble getting close to any woman because of how angry. So what we're going to talk about now, in just a minute, is the exercise, which is conditioning your mind for forgiveness and what it did for me. Personal story, no bullshit, the truth, the forgiveness, what it did for me. So, but before we go there, I'd like to take a little music break, because, it gets heavy. I have to take a break and medicate. Take a break and medicate. So let's take a little break, play some music, and when I come back, we're going to talk about the exercise, conditioning your mind for forgiveness. This is our musical break to medicate. About 5 minutes, we'll be right back. What's happening, Facebook? Hopefully, Laisha. The exercise coming up next.